Chapter 2 of Lotus Buds. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Marianne. Lotus Buds by Amy Wilson CARMICHAEL. Chapter 2. Opposites. Bala is nearly 4. There are so many much younger things in the nursery that Bala feels almost grown up. 4 will be quite grown up. It will be nice to be 4. Bala takes life seriously. She has always done so. She thinks it would be monotonous to have too many frivolous babies. But Bala's eyes can sparkle as no other eyes ever do, and her mirth is something by itself, like a little hidden fountain in the heart of a wood, with the sweetness of surprise in it, and very pure delight. When Bala came to us first, she was between 1 and 2, an age when most babies have a good deal to say. Bala said nothing. She was like a book with all its leaves uncut, and some who saw her, forgetting that uncut books are sometimes interesting, concluded she was dull. Quite a prosaic child, they said. But Bala did not care. There are some babies, like some grown-up people, who show all they have to show upon first acquaintance, and to all. Others cover the depths within, and open only to their own. Bala is one of these, and even with her own she has seasons of reserve. Her first remark, however, shown rather than said, was not romantic. She was too old for a bottle, and she seemed to feel sore over this. But she noted the time the infants were fed, and followed the nurses about while they were preparing the meal. And when they sat down to give it, each to her respective baby, Bala would choose the one of most uncertain appetite, and sit down beside it and wait. There was an expression on her face at such times which suggested a hymn, set it humming in one's head, in fact, in spite of all efforts to escape it. More than once we have caught ourselves singing it, and pulled up sharply. Even me, let some droppings fall on me. Most of our family remind us very early that they trace their descent to the mother of us all. Bala, on the contrary, was good, so we almost forgot she was human, and began to expect too much of her. But she got tired of all this after a while, and one day suddenly sinned. The surprise acted like hypo, and fixed the photograph. The place was the old nursery, which has one uncomfortably dark corner in it. Something had offended Bala. She marched straight into that corner and stamped. We can see her, poor little girl, as she rumpled her curls with both her hands, and flashed on the world a withering glance. "Scorn to be scorned by those I scorn," was written large all over the indignant little face. After this shock, we were prepared for anything, but nothing special happened. Only when the demands made upon her are unreasonable, then Bala retires into herself and turns upon all foolish insistence a face that is blank. If this point is passed, the dark eyes can flash, but such revealings are rare. When Bala was something under 3, she was very tender-hearted. One evening, after the first rains had flooded the pools and revived the mosquitoes, the nursery wall was the scene of many executions, and Bala could not bear it. "Sitty, don't kill the poor punchies," she said pitifully. And Sitty, much touched, stopped to comfort and explain. The other babies were delighting in the slaughter, pointing out with glee each detested punchi, but Bala is not like the other babies. Later, the ferocious instinct, common to most young animals, asserted itself in a relish for the horrible, which rather contradicted the mosquito incident. Bala visibly gloats over the gory head of Goliath, and immensely admires David as he operates upon it. Her favorite part of the story about his encounter with the lion is the suggestive sentence, "I caught him by the beard," and Bala loves to show you exactly how he did it. But then that is different from seeing it done, and after all it is only a story, and it happened long ago. I have told how the ignorant once called Bala prosaic. Bala knows nothing of poetry, but is full of the little seeds of that strange and wonderful plant. and the time to get to know her is when the evening sky is golden blaze, or glows with that mystic glory which wakens something within us and makes it stir and speak. "God has not lighted his fire tonight," she said wistfully one evening when the west was colorless. But when that fire is lighted, she stands and gazes satisfied. "What does God do when his fire goes out?" was a question on one such evening, as the mountains darkened in the passing of the afterglow, and then, "Why does he not light it every night?" "Amma, I have looked into heaven," she said suddenly to me after a long silence. "I have seen quite in, and I know what it is like." "What is it like? Can you tell me?" And the child's voice answered dreamily, "It was shining, very shining." Then with animation, in broken but vivid Tamil, "Oh, it was beautiful! All a garden like our garden, only bigger, and there were flowers, and flowers, and flowers." Here words failed to describe the number, and a comprehensive sweep of the hand served instead. "And our dolls can walk there. They never can down here, poor things. And Jesus plays with our babies there," the dear little sisters who have gone to the nursery out of sight, but are unforgotten by the children. "He plays with Indranila. Lovely games." "What games, Bala?" I asked, wondering greatly what she would say. There was a long, thoughtful pause, and Bala looked at me with grave, contented eyes. "New games," she said simply. Bala's opposite is Chellalu. We never made any mistake about her. We never thought her good. Not that she is impossibly bad. She was created for play and for laughter, and very happy babies are not often very wicked. But she is so irrepressible, so hopelessly given up to fun, that her kindergarten teacher, Rukma, smiles a rueful smile at the mention of her name. For to Chellalu the most unreasonable thing you can ask is implicit obedience, which unfortunately is preferred by us to any amount of fun. She will learn to obey. We are not afraid of that. But more than any of our children, her attitude towards this demand has been one of protest and surprise. She thinks it unfair of grown-up people to take advantage of their size in the arbitrary way they do, and when, disgusted with life's dispensations, she condescends to expostulate, her "ba is a thing to affright." But this is the wrong side of Chellalu, and not for ever in evidence. The right side is not so depressing. It is a brilliant morning in late November. The world, all washed and cooled by the rains, has not had time to get hot and tired, and the air has that crystal quality which is the charm of this season in South India. Every wrinkle on the brown trunks of the trees in the compound, every twig and leaf, stands out with a special distinctness of its own, and the mountains in the distance glisten as if made of precious stones. Suddenly, all unconscious of affinity or contrast, a little person in scarlet comes dancing into the picture, which opens to receive her, for she belongs to it. Her hands are full of gloriosa lilies, fiery red, terracotta, yellow, delicate old rose, and green, such a mingling of color, but nothing discordant. And the child, waving her spoils above her head, sings at the top of her voice something intended to be the chorus of a kindergarten song. "Oh, the delight of the glorious light, the joy of the shining blue. Beautiful flowers, wonderful flowers. Oh, I should be like you." "But, Chellalu, where did you get them? For the lilies in the garden are supposed to be safe from attack." Chellalu looks up with frank, brown eyes. "For you," she says briefly in Tamil, but there is a wealth of forgiveness in the tone as she offers her armful of flowers. Chellalu wonders at grown-up hearts which can harbor unworthy suspicions about blameless little children, as if she would have picked them. "But, Chellalu, where did you get them?" And still looking grieved and surprised and forgiving, Chellalu explains that yesterday evening the elder sisters went for a walk in the fields, and brought home so many lilies that after all just claims were met, there was still some over. An expressive gesture shows the heap. So Chellalu thought of her Amal, mother, and went and picked out the best for her. Then by way of emphasis the story is attempted in English. Very good? Yes. Naughty? No. Kindergarten room want flowers? No. I, patting herself approvingly. Very good. Yes. With Chellalu, speech is a mere adjunct to conversation, a sort of footnote to a page of illustration. The illustration is the thing that speaks. So now both Tamil and English are illuminated by vivid gesture of hands, feet, the whole body indeed. Curls and even eyelashes play their part, and the final impression produced upon her questioner is one of complete contrition for ever having so misjudged a thing so virtuous. But Chellalu wastes no sympathy upon herself. She is accustomed to be believed, and perfectly happy in her mind, casts a keen glance round, for who knows what new delights may be somewhere within reach? Ah, the deep-breathed sigh of content is always a danger signal where this innocent child is concerned. I turn in time to avert disaster, and Chellalu, finding life dull with me, departs. Then the little scarlet figure, with its crown of careless curls, scampers across the sunny space and dives into the shadow of a tree. There it stays. Something arresting has happened, some scurry of squirrel up the trunk, or dart of lizard, or hurried scramble of insect, under cover out of reach of those terrible eyes. Or better still, something is playing dead, and the child, fascinated, is waiting for it to resurrect. And then the song about the lilies begins again, only it is all a jumble this time. For Chellalu sings just as it comes, untrammeled by thoughts about sequence or sense, and when she forgets the words she calmly makes them up. And I cannot help thinking that Chellalu is very like her song. Here is an intelligent bit, a line or two in order, then a cheerful tumble up, and an irresponsible conclusion. The tune, too, seems in character. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing. The swinging old Jacobite air had fitted itself into a nursery song about the brave fire-lilies, and something in its abandon to the happy mood of the moment seems to express the child. It is not easy to express her. If you had to describe Chellalu, how would you do it? I asked my colleague this morning, hoping for illumination. I would not attempt it. Who would? She answered helpfully. Chellalu. Oh, you need 10 pairs of eyes and 10 pairs of hands, and even then you could never be sure you had her. This was her nurse's earliest description. She was 6 months old then. She is 3 3/4 now. But she is what she was, only more so. Before Chellalu had a single tooth, she had developed mother ways, and would comfort distressed babies by thrusting into their open mouths whatever was most convenient. At first this was her own small thumb, which she had once found good herself. But she soon discovered that infants can bite, and after that she offered rattle handles. Later she used to stagger from one hammock to another and swing them. And often, before she understood the perfect art of balance, she would find herself, to her surprise, on the floor, as the hammock in its rebound knocked her over. She felt this ungrateful of the baby inside, but she seemed to reflect that it was young and knew no better, for she never retaliated, but picked herself up and began again. These hammocks, which are our South Indian cradles, are long strips of white cloth hung from the roof, and they make delightful swings. Chellalu learned this early, and her nurse's life was a burden to her because of the discovery. She could walk before she could stand. This is another nursery description, and truer than it sounds. Certainly no one ever saw Chellalu learning to walk. She was a baby one day, rapid in unexpected motion, but only on all fours. The next day, or so it seems looking back, she was everywhere on her 2 feet. Now there will be no place where she won't be, groaned the family, the first time she was seen walking about with an air of having done it all her life. And appalling visions rose of Chellalu standing on the wall of the well looking down, or sitting in the bucket left by some careless water-drawer just at the edge of the wall, or trying to descend by the rope. Before this date such diversions as the classic patty cake had been much in favour. Chellalu's Attai, the word here and hereafter signifies Mrs. Walker, mother's elder sister. And whenever and wherever Chellalu saw her Attai, she immediately began to perform prick it and nick it with great enthusiasm. But after she could walk, Chellalu would have nothing more to do with such childish things. "Show us Edward Rajah," the older children would say, and instead of standing up with a regal dignity and crowning her curls with the appropriate gesture, Chellalu would merely look surprised. They had forgotten. She was not a baby now. Such trifles are for babies. End of chapter 2.